All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of GreenCourt Connections. I'm your host, Jay Bland. We've got a very special guest today for you, Sandy Cloer, who is the Division Director of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians Tribal Child Support, TANF, and Representative PAYEE programs. Sandy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay.
I know you're calling in from North Carolina. I've been to North Carolina a lot, and I'm your neighbor, if you will. But for someone
Yes.
visiting North Carolina for the first time, what's something they should see or do?
Well, I live in Western North Carolina. We are 33 miles from the Tennessee line. We are about 50 miles from the Georgia line. So, yes, you are my neighbor. Um, Living in the mountains is just the best of any world, I think. Of course, North Carolina offers the mountains in the western end and the ocean in the eastern end of the state, but I'm kind of partial to my home. We have the Great Smoky Mountains National Park that is just right here in our door. We're about 3 miles literally from it in this office. So it is a great place to come and enjoy hiking, enjoy waterfalls. There's things that entire families can do, or you can do it by yourself. I think that's a good round way of being to include everybody.
How long have you been there in North Carolina, Sandy?
I have lived in North Carolina, telling you my age, about 65 years.
Okay. So you
My
know,
parents, my parents are from North Carolina. I was actually born in Detroit, Michigan. My dad worked for Ford Motor Company, and after he and my mom married, they moved there. And my sister and I both were there for about 5 years before we moved back to Western North Carolina.
it stays a little warmer in North Carolina than it does Michigan, right?
It is. I was in Michigan in January. I have never had to drag my luggage through ice and snow until this year. That was the first time, and I've been traveling for a lot of years. So, yes, it is a lot warmer in North Carolina.
Amen. Well, yeah, you might say that you're in your dream job now, and a few people have said that. But when you were a kid, thinking about what you wanted to be when you grew up, what was your idea? What was your dream job when you were a kid?
When I was growing up, I wanted to go into nursing, and I followed that dream all through high school. Applied to college, was accepted, got put on a wait list for 2 years. Uh, in those 2 years, I continued on in my education in general ed in school, and that 2 years rolled around, and I decided I didn't want to do nursing anymore. I wanted to do accounting at that point in time, so I continued on in my degree in business and worked in a couple of industries doing accounting before I landed in social services.
So what made you want to get away from nursing? Was there a certain event or
There wasn't. It was just the wait, and I just felt like that if I didn't go on, that I would never do it. I think nursing is a wonderful profession. Lots of nurses in my family, so that was kind of guiding me to that profession, so to speak. I just did not, at 18, didn't want to wait 2 years to get into school. I wanted to go on and get on with life, so to speak, Jay.
yeah, I didn't not to say you were impatient, but when I was 18, I definitely was impatient.
I was too. I was too. I wanted to get on with life. I mean, the world was big back then, and I had things to do and places to go. So I thought I needed to get on into school and get that degree and be done with it.
Now you find yourself working with the tribal child support program there for the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. How long has that program been around?
The Eastern Bands program has been around since 2012 as Eastern Band. Prior to that, the state of North Carolina did all of the child support cases for the tribe. And I began after one of the businesses I was working for as an accountant. Went out of business, and so I had an opportunity to go to the state of North Carolina and work in child support. It wasn't something that I ever thought that I would do. Didn't know that I was really interested in doing it, quite honestly. It sounded like a whole lot, and I never thought that I would want to do work in social services. But I've got to say, it's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm very glad that I did make the decision to go. But I started out in Bryson City, and in that office, there were 6 counties, and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians was the caseload. We had about 7,500 cases total in the office, and my caseload was the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. So I worked for the state of North Carolina for 18 and a half years before I got rifted in 2008 when there was an economic downturn. All of the child support programs at that point in time in North Carolina went to the county. Eastern Band lies in 5 counties in western North Carolina. So the question was who was going to get what. We knew we did not want the state courts to have the orders that we were doing here in tribal court. So at the time, our attorney and myself went to see then Principal Chief Michelle Hicks, who is also the chief today, incidentally, and presented all of the facts. We just felt like that we didn't want to see the tribe suffer, that we did not want to see those cases be spread out in 5 counties, and he agreed. So he turned us over to the Chief Justice of the tribal court, Bill Boyum, at the time, and we worked to get a program together to where we could operate all of Eastern Band on the boundary, and that's what we did starting in May of 2010. We worked under the Modoc tribe of Oklahoma. Jerry Sweet, as you know, was one of the directors there, and so he became my director here for Eastern Band. He had 17 tribes at the time, and he helped us get this program going. We worked until September of 2012, and we had written a plan, a comprehensive plan for child support, and submitted it to the Office of Child Support Services. We were approved in September of 2012, and we've been going ever since.
That's an amazing story. There's quite a few child support directors in this country, but there's very few who helped create the program where they serve today. That's a very
Yes.
unique story.
It was a lot, and I did not know anything about writing plans. That was all Jerry Sweet's doing, and Bill Boyum, and of course Chief Hicks. They were instrumental in doing all of that. I just provided the pieces, the working pieces as I knew it from the caseload. They helped provide all of the cultural pieces, which is a big part of our program as well.
So by working with North Carolina before you created this program, you've seen it from both sides. So you've seen a state ran program, and then you've seen a standalone tribal program. What are the differences between those two, and maybe how are they similar as well?
Well, tribes are sovereign governments, as you know, I'm sure. And when somebody says, "What does that mean?" I say, "Well, we're like the country of Canada. We're our own government. We create our own laws. We have our own courts, and we also all tribes have different federal regulations rather than what the states do. So we operate under those as well. Programs operate similarly in the guidelines and the laws. There's very few differences. You have to look hard to find some of those differences. The biggest thing, I think, though, is the sovereign government and the fact that we take our cases into the tribal court, not into state court.
Mm. Yeah. So when you talk about the systems they use, so in a state like North Carolina, where North Carolina has a state-run case management system for child support, as a tribe in North Carolina, do you use that system or do you use your own system?
We do not use North Carolina systems now. In the beginning, in 2010, we moved right over to the ACT system in North Carolina and used that system for 2 years until we got onto our own plan. We were asked by the federal government to pilot the MTS, or the Model Tribal System. So Eastern Band piloted that for about a year before we ever moved over onto it. And so we work with the Model Tribal System, or MTS, now here for all of our case management, all of our financials. We do all of our payments through the system. It's a pretty good system. Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Commissioner Gray, former Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
she's on our board of directors now, and I know she did a lot partnering with the tribal programs across the country. So we've seen what she's done. But if you look forward to the next 10 years, what's on your wish list for tribal programs across the country?
Well, and Commissioner Gray has been so instrumental in doing so many things for the tribes. I got to know Tangela whenever we were both 4D directors. She was the state of Georgia, the great state of Georgia,
That's right. That's
excuse
right.
me. And then for me to be able to go to regional meetings, which most of the time were in Atlanta. So I got to know her many years ago, and it's been a great relationship. But she was so helpful when she was commissioner, doing helping us with all of the different problems with tribes. She listened, she acted, and we were so very grateful for what she did for us. As you probably know, tribes were just allowed to start doing tax offset. That passed in December of 24. We are trying to get ourselves ready to do that. That's a big project too. That's going to continue for a couple of years before we're able to get things going fully, I think. But at least we have that now to where we can do that. That's huge for us here at Eastern Band. We have probably over $1 million on the books that we could do tax intercept with, and I'm looking forward to being able to do some collecting through tax offset. As far as 10 years down the road, that's my biggest thing right now in my eyesight, is being able to finish that project. I know there's a lot of other things that need to be done, but that's kind of my focus here for right now.
And that's a big undertaking. I know states
It
have been doing it
is.
for a while, and anytime you deal with the IRS or IRS data, it brings in a whole nother world of requirements and security. So I know that's a big job.
It's a huge job. When I was with North Carolina, we actually had an IRS audit, so I'm a little bit familiar with that. I'm not a fan of it, but those are the things that you get when you get things like tax offset, and that's a small price when you think about it, to collect the millions of dollars that can be collected through tax offset.
Well, when we were chatting before we got started today, you were talking about another enforcement tool that you utilize there, garnishments, to
Hmm.
deal with the
Yes.
casinos that are part of the tribe. Tell us a little bit more about that work you're doing now.
Well, with the Eastern Band, every enrolled member receives a per capita distribution twice a year, and that's from earnings from the casino, Harrah's, here in Cherokee. A lot of tribes do this. Some have oil. A lot of, most everybody, though, is gaming, I believe. And so for Eastern Band, our tribal council recognized that this would be a great way for us to be able to collect child support. They passed some legislations here with the tribal council that allows us to garnish arrears and 6 months into the future from non-enrolled members from the per capita garnishment. That gives us about $3.7 million a year in collections. It's a big project, but it's so worthwhile. It makes cases stay current. First business day of every month, we have money in the future, and that money drops out to families, and they don't have to wait on their money, as a lot of people do. It as in most systems, it goes out as it comes in. This way, we have it, and we are able to send it out on that first business day of the month, and it helps families with planning their finances for the month. A couple of years ago, OCSS put out some information, and one piece that I found extremely interesting was that child support is, in most households, 40% of their budget. So to be able to have that to come out and drop out each month regularly, I think is huge, and it helps with those financial needs for the children.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the speed at which you can collect and disperse is important too, because 40% of your budget, that's not play money. This
No,
is not bonus money for these families. This is money that these families need to feed their children that week.
that's true. That's true. Children don't get to stand in the corner until somebody decides to make payments. So this way, that's one thing that we are very proud of here at Eastern Band, is that we're able to help a household by providing those funds that first business day of the month.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, you You mentioned the IRS audit, so that can't be the answer to this question. But what has been the biggest challenge of your career, and what did you learn from it?
Uh, gosh. Well, I think that for the longest time before tax intercept, we not having the tools that we need to do the business that we do. Tribes have not been permitted to do that, and it's huge when you can't access systems, when you can't get money for children that states do every day, day in and day out. That's why it was just so very important for tax intercept to pass. That was going on when I first came on to child support here at the tribe in 2010. It took 14 years to get it. I always said I was going to retire whenever we finally got it. And now then I have to get it in place before I can go home. So that's going to take me another year or two, probably, Jay, to get that going. But I think those are the challenges in any tribal program is that we've not been able to do the things that states do. But that's changing, and we're very grateful.
It is changing. I know one of the big recent changes was 100% federal funding, so not requiring that tribal
Mhm.
match. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about that.
That's something that was new that just started last year that tribes were able to be a part of, and that was all part of Commissioner Gray's initiative when she came on was to get that passed. So it does not cost any tribal dollars for tribes to have child support programs, which is huge when you think of a tribe that's maybe has 1,000 members or less,
Right.
and they're trying to do a program. They can't put up the match, and it's 80/20. Once it gets started, it's the 80/20. It starts off pretty good at 90/10, but then after you become comprehensive, then it goes to 80/20. So you've got to come up with that 20% match. We did that here for years. It's hard to do sometimes, and I know there have been some tribal programs that have actually closed shop because they couldn't meet the match. The tribe could not do it financially through no fault of their own. It's just the economics just did not work for them. So I think that's one of the biggest things that's happened for tribes in the last couple of years next to tax offset is the fact that we don't have a match for federal dollars now.
Do you think these changes will result in more tribes opening up their own child support programs?
I do. As the president of NTCSA, and let me toot that horn just a little bit too here. This is my last year for been president for 4 years now, but I have seen that growth. Last year we had 60 tribes. This year we have 63. So, and we know there's others that are looking at it that are trying to get their plans in place to where that can become a comprehensive tribe as well. So I do look for it to become a reality for a lot of tribes. There are 564 federally recognized tribes in the United States, and only 63 have comprehensive tribal child support programs. So there's some room on the table there, and I think that by not having a match, that's going to change. I think more tribes will jump on and do their own programs.
So those tribes that do not have their own program, are they just swallowed up, if you will, by the state program? Do they become part of the state program?
A lot of them do. A lot of them, that's the only way they have of doing it is to work through their states. And it's not a bad relationship for some, but it doesn't always work for everyone. So it's so much better when you can have your own program that you can go into your own courts. That's the biggest thing I think right there because tribal courts operate just a little bit differently. Ours here at Eastern Band is not that much different, but I know some tribes that are. It is a big difference for them. They have an elders court, which we don't have here, where you're judged by your elders, and they walk you through things and try to help you understand why you're doing this, the reason for all of this, and so that piece of it is a little bit different. But I think, Jay, I really do think that more people, more tribes will come on and do their own program. Most tribes have their own courts, so I really don't see a lot of reason for them not to. Smaller tribes, it may take a little bit longer to get them going, but there's a lot of help out there for individuals and for tribes. And of course, NTCSA, we're more than happy to do that.
And there's got to be, talk about meeting people where they are. We hear that a lot in child support. And if you've got a tribe who has a tribal court, having those members trust that court is a lot easier to do than have them trust some court from some county they've never been to.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it is because most everything here at Eastern Band, of course, we are subject to the federal jurisdiction too for capital cases and all, but most everything is heard here in the tribal court, the civil and criminal, as well as child support. We have a wellness court that is operated also through the tribal courts here, and a Supreme Court that operates through tribal courts as well.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand just how sophisticated some of these tribal court programs are. I mean, they're very sophisticated.
Yes, yes, they are. We are very lucky here at Eastern Band. We recently, the Chief Justice here, his name is Brad Letts. He's on the Superior Court. He was the Chief Superior Court judge for this district in Western North Carolina. Also an enrolled member. He retired from the state and he's come on board with the tribal court. So things like that are just plus, just a plus for us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you've mentioned a couple people you've worked with, but I want to get you to focus in on maybe one person who was a very impactful mentor in your professional career.
Well, there's been a lot. That I've been blessed to make a lot of friends since I've been here and since I've been doing child support. But when I came on with Eastern Band, there was one lady in particular that kind of mentored me. Her name is Vicki Bradley. She was the Secretary of Public Health and Human Services here for Eastern Band. Just a terrific lady who every day got up, coming to work, trying to make a difference. She was inspiring. She had great ideas. You wanted to be just like her in any way that you could. She was just that kind of person that you just loved to be around all the time. She could be tough, but she came to work and she had her plans, and they were going to be she was going to do it one way or the other. It was going to happen. And all of the different programs under Public Health and Human Services here in Cherokee, we all work together very well. We have meetings monthly. We're constantly in touch with each other, seeing how that our program can help another one or their program can help our clients. It's all about working together and getting the word out and making sure everybody's understanding what you can do and what can be done and what there is to help other individuals.
Well, it sounds like you've modeled your mentor a bit, because when I think of you, I think very kind and enjoyable to be around, but can be straightforward if you need to be, right? You'll lay down the law if you have to.
Uh, I can do that. I don't like to, but I can do that. Yes, and that's part of being a manager. That's just the way that it works. I think a good manager is there in the good and the bad, and it's our job to make sure that everybody's doing their job and doing it to the best of their ability.
Amen. So when you talked about how you would retire when the offset program started, but now you've extended that by saying you're going to see it through.
Yeah,
So when
I
you do
am.
retire and you think about all the people that you've worked with, how do you want them to remember you? What do you want your legacy to be professionally?
Hope people will remember that I was there to help, that I did everything that I could with whatever that I had to make a difference in the lives of the children, because I truly believe that children are the future of our country. One of these days, your little ones are going to be up there. Mine are kind of middle aged right now, so to speak. And so I see them doing things that I'm very proud of. But I think that we have to take care of our children because they are the future.
Amen. They're all we got.
They're all we got. All we got.
I really appreciate you taking some time to spend with us today. You were an
Well,
awesome
thank
guest.
you.
I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll be in Albuquerque, right, for
Albuquerque.
PSA.
Yes,
Look for that.
NTCSA this year is our 24th annual conference. We will be at the Clyde Hotel in downtown Albuquerque, New Mexico, June 15th through the 19th. I hope that we will have a lot of people there. We try very hard to make sure that we have workshops for frontline staff, for our attorneys, for managers, for everybody to be able to help them be better at their job. That's that's what we're all about. And we also want to be good partners. NTCSA has tried very hard to be good state partners and good federal partners. And I think we've done a very good job of that. We want to work with everybody because we know we can learn from others, and I believe that others can learn from us, learn what tribes do as well.
Well said. Well, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple months.
I look forward to having you do. Thank you so much for having me, Jay.